Dogs roam the streets of Zaruma and Portobelo, Ecuador day and night. I have never seen so many wandering dogs. I have not been able to walk 5 minutes without a dog passing my view. Every time we would see one, we would want to crouch down and pet it, but we couldn't. With there being so many dogs on the streets and the people of Ecuador not having the money to vaccinate their dogs, there is a problem with rabies. In 1988, the World Health Organization conducted a citywide vaccination in Guayaquil of dogs, where 81.3% of dogs were vaccinated with a population of 1,792 dogs per square kilometer. With this knowledge in mind, we would just keep to ourselves and keep walking, just like everybody else. It is different than the US because there are so many dogs in the street and nobody pays mind to them. The dogs don't pester people and the people don't really try to chase them off. The dogs go about their business just like the people do. Not only did it seem that the dogs walking around didn't bother the people, but they also didn't seem to care about all the dog feces on the ground or sidewalks. I barely missed stepping into one pile only to find myself stepping into another. But I love dogs. I saw two that I just thought were the coolest dogs ever. There was one that looked like a miniature bear and had a thick brown coat. And then there was another one that I think was a husky mix. This dog was huge and was incredibly white with extremely thick fur. If it stood up on its back 2 legs, it would have been taller than me, and I'm 6 feet tall. These dogs are able to live and inhabit this area because of how much cooler the weather is in Zaruma and Portobelo than in Georgia and the United States. There are many kinds of dogs in Ecuador, 1 or 2 that I felt like I had never seen. I was really excited to see my favorite breed, the Siberian Husky. These were some of the few dogs actually on leashes. There were dogs that looked like strays walking around the streets, but then there were groomed dogs with collars also walking around the streets. I believe this is because of how populated and dense Zaruma and Portobelo are, and the location of being on a mountain. There aren't any backyards or large flat areas where dogs would normally be kept. Where I live, we have a fair-sized backyard where dogs can run around and exercise, but this is not the case in Zaruma or Portobelo. There isn't any space for backyards, so the only place left for an outside dog is on the streets. If they are not on the streets, they are found on what seems to be unfinished parts of houses that are cement, where if the dog isn't careful, it could run straight off the building, falling down a steep hill. During my stay in Zaruma, I had not seen one dog park, and I only passed one retail store where you could actually buy pet food. The store didn't actually contain pets to buy. In fact, I didn't see any place to actually buy a dog, but I did see a man on the street that was selling dogs from a cage on wheels that had about 5 to 7 puppies in it. It was really surprising to see a place so filled with dogs, but with hardly any stores for them. It was not until we came back to Guayaquil and spent time at the Mal de Sol that I found a place to actually buy dogs. There are a couple of reasons why I think dogs are so abundant on the streets of Zaruma and Portobelo, Ecuador. First, people don't have the money to spay and neuter their dogs, and even if they did, I never saw a veterinarian office while I was there. Dog owners would have to travel to a bigger city like Guayaquil to have their dogs fixed, but many people don't have that kind of time or money. Second, people who buy dogs don't realize they don't have the money or time to care for them, so they have no choice but to release them. In my conversation with a local environmentalist and dog lover, I was told that people bring their dog to the nature reserve and abandon them. This is not so far from what happens in the US. An article from 2007 in the New York Times reads, Town Lake alone takes in, on average, about 40 dogs a day from the greater Austin area, or some 14,000 over the course of a year. This is significant because it shows that the same problem is occurring in the US, but at least the dogs are taken off the street. They have no way of regulating dogs because they don't have any shelters or animal control in Zaruma or Portobelo. With its overpopulation of dogs, the group witnessed many sad moments while traveling the area. This includes dogs drinking what little water they can find on the streets, sleeping under cars during day and night, being contaminated in processing plants, and on the last day, a dog got hit while crossing the street. We, as people on this earth, have a responsibility to maintain dog populations because of how much we have bred them. By having a high demand for dogs, we have caused them to be overpopulated. The overpopulation leads to over 2 million dogs being euthanized a year in the US alone. This is not how man's best friend should be treated. Dogs should be in our homes, not in the shelter on death row. Through this overpopulation of dogs, there begins an increase in disease. More stray dogs cause more dogs on the street without vaccines. This leaves them more susceptible to getting rabies by raccoons or possums, which puts our family dogs at risk when we let them outside, and ourselves at risk when we are outside. Overall, it is our responsibility to be more efficient at regulating the dog population to provide a safer and more stable environment.